My name is Angelo Kakande. I teach at the art school, and I am Dr. Tusime coordinating this exercise.
Amanda Tusime, I teach at the School of Industrial and Fine Arts, and I coordinated this workshop. I'm happy to see all of you. Sometime back when I would think about this workshop, I would feel like it wouldn't really happen. But now seeing it in front of me, I'm feeling really, really excited.
By profession, I'm a lawyer, a historian, and an artist. But most importantly, I am a fellow of the American Council for Land Societies. And that's because of the African Humanities program. Now, I would like to share a brief overview about how this particular workshop, which we're having now, emerged out of a project by American Council for Land Society, which produced me and Dr. Amanda. And I should say that I was mentored by Professor Ingrid, Professor Sati, Professor Ola is not here. So the American Council for Land Society, we usually abbreviate it as ACLS, advances the humanities through research and application. And I think it's been doing that since 1919, so for a long time they've been around. And a team of professors with the interest in humanities research in Africa, the ACLS started the African Humanities Program to advance humanities research in Africa through research and applications. And I and Dr. Amanda and Professor Dipio have been beneficiaries of those two outputs of the African Humanities Program.
I will present Dr. Cheney's article, which is titled New Conversations, New Strands. The author analyzes new strands in art that appear to have emerged with what he calls new conversations, inspired by an enlarged and variegated creative space. Dr. Cheney uses an ethnographic, he picks from ethnographic texts, not so much of the archive, but works a lot with ethnographic texts gathered from artists, and he also uses description of some of the artworks and the functioning of the strategies that have created these conversations.
Dr. Kavito's piece, which is about culture, immediacy, ceremony, the remaking of artifact in colonial Uganda. We've been judged in the past by the Western scholars as a region that is a desert in terms of as far as African art is concerned. Even Trau herself, who founded the art school, was puzzled at this scarcity of art in the region. And at the same time, she said again that, well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe actually there's art here, but I just don't see it, or it is hidden, or manifests itself differently. And I think this is what Richard tries to pick up and explain to us, that indeed there's art here. Indeed, it's not a desert as far as art is concerned.
The purpose that you're using a particular piece of writing for is quite important. So if this is a planning session for possible applicants to AHP, then that has a particular kind of approach to how you're going to do that. If it's part of a manuscript that's going to, if it's a chapter in a proposed manuscript for a book, it's a different kind of thing that you're looking at. And it would be of interest to us if you just introduce to say, this is what this is. I'd really like to apply for AHP. It is a chapter in a book. It is an article that I'm busy writing, or it's my PhD proposal, or whatever it is.
And I'm here as an art certificate for Kasozi Dora, author to the article entitled Paper Beats in the Economy. She's portraying the agency of the women and abilities, via the beat and the processes. The woman has been regarded as a caretaker, economically unproductive. She's subservient among others. She has made strong points in that case. Also regarding the beat as a shaper of subjectivities and new identities.
Advocating for an article entitled Social Sustainability Within Fair Trade Basketry, Interpreting Haute Couture as a Communication Tool, and this paper was written by Natsanzi Sarah. The paper starts off with an introduction, and here she examines aspects of social sustainability within fair trade basketry and how these aspects shaped a haute couture, which is a fashion statement. In the work, we see her fashion articulating these issues and how it transcends beyond aspects of dress, because we've known fashion to be, about dressing the body.
I feel that in terms of length, structure, it seems to have delivered what it promised. But I want to suggest that the author should consider reworking the introduction in such a way that the first paragraph would have more than it presents now.
The paper gives a little background about the sickle cell prevalence in Uganda, which started in 1793. But she heightens it up to get to 1915, when the Minister of State, Sarah Opendi, when she's challenged by the Banakazana, which is an activist group of mothers, to have more funding for people who are suffering from sickle cell. And the Titans goes to Parliament. Instead of casting funds to their bid, parliamentarians decide to have mandatory testing for all people and newlyborns for sickle cell in order to stop the trade.
To do a Kapere visit to colonial visual representation and education in Uganda since 1900. So the author took upon herself to find out why Kapere has been enrolled in public health education. Kapere was introduced in Uganda. It was a comic strip. It was supposed to educate the public about health and hygiene. Now, the colonialists came with a mentality that once they brought in visual aids, then the message of health hygiene will be presented well and clearly across the masses.
I've looked at the abstract and it doesn't seem clear to me the goal or the angle which the author is focusing on. When we visit the visual presentations of what objectives we have in mind. What are we thinking about that? What is it we are doing? In other words,
Probably from all the submissions, they need to go back and get that thesis from which you, like a hinge, a springboard from where Capello can have a ground.
The author clearly gives a background to the national cultural policy, which aims at making meaningful engagement of culture and cultural symbols to help in the economic development of the nation or the communities. Mr. Roku clearly gives a reason for why he chooses Nakaima as his symbol to try and tally what the national cultural policy wants to do.
So I think as scholars, we should really engage with this as critical as possible, rather than just seeming to see the implementation itself and the difficulties of this implementation of these policies. I think is our role as scholars to be more critical.
I'm called Iroko Emmanuel, and I'm presenting a paper entitled The Genesis of the Wangusai Poetic Narrative, All Hail Christmas, by Wankoma Abel Chideti. And the main objective of this paper was to examine and address a knowledge gap on the advent of Timothy Wambusa's narrative shift from the traditional Eurocentric narrative style to the African contemporary style of fiction writing. Mr. Wankoma used the analytical criticism, which was aided by two post-colonial theories of diagonalism and arts of the contract zone.
The title promises to be a historical discourse. The content is statistics. So I think it's lifted from a section of a work. And so if it's a section of a work, the section of that, the title of that section should be the one that is presented as the title of what is being presented to us, not the title of the main work itself.
Design and policy, collaborative computer-aided product design processes for increased productivity of small-scale and medium enterprises, SMEs. Mr. Raymond, and a brief background is to this paper is with the fact that SMEs have been instrumental in economic development and industrialization of Uganda. They employ quite a number of people. The paper questions the concept of what is design within our Ugandan small and medium economies. However, the researcher looks at exploring value addition through design.
So I think that this would be better framed by just detaching or make the writer or the researcher to maintain some distance. The work can speak to people.
So innovation is used in regard to community, and innovation not something that is new or something that is changing or in terms of an existing product or an idea. And then of course the controversial word design. Here it's used in reference to a process, that mindful decision-making process through which an idea is transformed into an outcome.
But to drop the word design without giving it either a cultural context or a historical context or a religious affiliation takes it off the symbolic, because it is studied as modeling and then it doesn't have a historical or cultural or religious context. It takes it off.
I am advocating for the work of Dr. Constance Tupasiwe. She talks about innovations in Ugandan English. She was focusing on the subject of the varieties of English that has become now a pet name in the linguistic field in recent times. As many researchers have done extensive work on them, different linguistics have given varieties of English, different levels such as world English, second language English, localized English, indigenized English.
This article is premised on the fact that There are gaps in the documentation of African history, African art, as well as African culture. Africans have a set of values which should be upheld and preserved according to him. Unfortunately, most of these values are not well documented, and most of these African history, African art, and African culture, they are not well documented, and they tend to be distorted by some of the Western historians.
The author used interference when I think he should have used interaction. So you don't talk about local languages interfering. So that reflects a standpoint that runs contrary to the study. But this is a very well-researched area. I want to be sure that you are aware of the literature, very extensive literature, from all over the continent.
You were only able to cite 5 lexical, examples. I'm surprised if this is a rich area and, you hope to prosecute a major study in this area.
African history, having been misrepresented by the West, is still a valid case for scholarly debate. And some aspect of that I was helped by one of the professors who did say it depended on the interpretation of the writer.
Journal articles always seek to address clearly defined issues, or insert the specific contributions of scholars in identifiable debates. And so the starting point will always be to locate whatever we have to say as scholars in the context of existing arguments, and then clearly define the contribution we want to make, the approach we want to adopt, and also state in clear terms what we seek to achieve.
It was observed that some of the narratives that I used in the italicized sections, some of them did not echo those aspects, and it was important to have those major narratives that I teased out echo the contestation. So what I've decided to work on is that I blend those narratives, those that do not directly speak to the contest, and blend them in the discussion.
It was identified that in the presentation, the context for my argument was lacking. There were various gaps. I needed to give more background about the subject matter.
We had this joint session, so what I would say now is applicable to the two presenters. Find their choice of specific subject of gender, women, specific perhaps as very detailed, very specific, methodology also well spelled out, and the methodology, the treatment also clearly detailed and with appropriate visuals. But of course, in the visual arts, you can never have enough. We agree that there will be additional visuals to do this. Of course, process of publication also have to immediately to be at the cost. Those doing those things would accompany the visuals. We also agree that in terms of the literature and sources, that there will be continuous updating, and specifically also to link to the evolving AHP community and
own sources by belonging to identifying what has already been done in these broad areas.
Basically, it was about the structure of my article. There were some suggestions that context of sickle cell in Uganda should come out earlier than expected. I was also asked to define the key terms, make sure that the narratives come out clearly and well articulated.
I thought that she shouldn't be going to medical sociology. She should stick with art history. And we agreed on that. We also agreed that based on the data presented, the title has to be renegotiated. It has to be reworked. So the article should move more towards that and not to question eugenics, because already based on the secondary literature available and based on the government pronouncements and the debate ongoing, the policy is clearly eugenics, so there's no debate about it.
At what point does Kapere begin? The subjective nature of and use of Kapere, like the extreme use and application in the paper.
So all genres of Kapere therefore refer to the ineffectiveness of government to communicate its mass education to the public. So in one instance, government would say, we want to present a theme about how bad theft is. But it was not nuanced in the local context, and therefore the citizens misinterpreted that theme. So it's a Kapere.
Professor Hendricks says that it is too defensive, and I agree with him that it's too defensive. I develop a position that I vehemently defend, but then I fail to move beyond what I'm defending.
The main problem was the fact that while insisting that ceremonies are art, you have to then start analyzing those ceremonies. You have to tell us about the aesthetics of those ceremonies. And what Richard has done is to be so completely immersed, in fact almost fixated, in the notion of asserting that that ceremonies are indeed art. That's why I said to him that the position that he's taking is far too defensive.
So I need to borrow aspects of archaeology and history within my research. I plan to look at the discipline of material culture analysis through the historic, archaeological, social innovation, and design perspective.
It's a very challenging objective to try to examine. I think by and large he has really discharged the initial elements of this function.
The paper should move away from just being descriptive and should become analytical, whereby I should look into the past, today, and also project into the future.
So receiving advice, I'm setting to now turn it from a section from the chapter and present it as a journal article. The paper did not come out clearly. It was not addressing a given audience.
What we discussed in the group, focused on the need for him now to reevaluate the paper by pointing out clearly what the shift is narrative style in the context here. What he needs to engage in, therefore, is some kind of comparative contrastive study.
My mentor advised that I should anchor myself on what has been done and what has not been done so far. In Ugandan English, of course, there are few people who have researched on it.
Now, the focus of the research is on lexis and semantics. When it comes to phonetics and phonology, we always have differences. It's very rare, for instance, in a country to have errors that will cut across ethnic boundaries. when you are doing this kind of work, you will just be exploring different aspects of it. So it's something that can take you, I mean, if you devote attention to it, it may take you some time to explore the various aspects.
The new convention and strands don't seem to come up very strongly and clearly. That needs to be looked at. And in looking at these new strands and new perspectives, new conversations, this is a chapter that builds from many other chapters, and this is chapter 6, as you can see.
There are problems, but I think that the problems are easily remedied. For me, and George has highlighted quite a number of the issues that we discussed in a fascinating discussion, very wide-ranging discussion about art and its place in Ugandan society more generally.
The feedback I got from the mentor, one, of course, and the reaction from the public, from the participants. One was, they all thought the paper was policy-driven, and because of that, we had to sit down the mentor and revisit the title. We had to change the title a little bit, to reconfigure the title a little bit so that it introduces in an element of a human dimension.
The objectives have to be adjusted, and the tasks that he has set for himself also have to reflect this more nuanced examination about people policy.
I came with cloudy thoughts, which have actually been, the cloud has gone and I've seen clearer what I wanted to do. And I think I'm in a much better position than when I came.
It is time for Africa not to generate raw data on which other people will take to produce finished products and then come and sell it back to us very expensively.
How much of disappointment did we create in these 2 days? In other words, did we meet your expectations?
Yes.
And if you were to organize this, how would you do it better?
I would like to introduce Professor Henry Arinito to you. He's our principal. Please welcome him.
So mine is really to represent the College of Engineering, Design, Art and Technology, and also Makerere University, where we all serve. And to say again that the university depends on publications, and therefore the impact of this training should be seen in a few years, and a few months and years to come. The impact should be there. That we're able to produce more publications that were out there, visible in the scholarly publications and materials that we churn out.
I'm Amanda Tumusime. I and Dr. Kakande organized this workshop, which took place on 23rd to 24th at Golf Course Hotel. It was really a big success, but the people who made it really a big success, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to AHP. I want to say thank you to SCLS and the Carnegie Corporation. You really helped us to give travel grants to the 6 professors who came to mentor and help the 12 participants who are my colleagues. And we are really, really so grateful. And it really, really went on well and it was a big success. So thank you so much. We are really grateful.
I was part of the AHP Writing and Mentorship workshop as a mentee. And I got a chance to present my work in that workshop. I found the workshop very engaging, very interactive, very enriching. I learned how to critique and take on criticisms positively. I also had a chance to interact with the professors who were our mentors, and I think their input in our work was very, very enriching, very intellectually engaging. And this has actually created an environment for me to be able, I have gained confidence.
To me, I feel my mentor, our mentor was God-given because I really read our papers and give us very constructive feedback, which is pushing me to my next level of writing and completion of my paper.
It helped me in the area of skills in as far as academic writing is concerned, and I think going forward I should be able to do a good job on my PhD program.
This workshop was so beneficial to me. I really picked out a lot of key aspects in terms of academic writing, and I believe that we still need more of such opportunities so that we can continue developing our writing skills.
We learned to be advocates. How do you advocate for someone else's paper and really understand their flow of writing and ideas of writing?
It was a very rewarding experience to be among scholars, eminent scholars and colleagues who presented papers that were very strong, very educative. When I returned, I started reworking my paper. It's looking much better now, and I hope and pray that more of such workshops come back. I've networked, and I'm going to continue collaborating and corresponding with my professor, my mentor.
So this was a great opportunity for me to exchange, have discussions, link up with Professor Mapunda from Dar es Salaam, exchange my doctoral concept and proposal that I'm working on with Makerere University. I thank Dr. Amanda from the School of Industry and Fine Art and Professor Angelo Kakande from the School of Industry and Fine Art, who are the head organizers. I thank all the professors who traveled to Kampala to help us get started in the long journey of academic writing.
The workshop was a very good insight into writing articles, and of course writing has always been a big thing here. We tend to look at it as a big elephant that you have to pull down piece by piece until it's done. The workshop kind of opened this up for us, and we had to learn the basic, all the tools and styles of approaching this article writing for journals and all the rest. I would say thumbs up to Kakande and Amanda. It was a very good project, and please keep it up, and thanks for the spirit.